Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Braxton College's podcast this evening. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to actually build off of what we've been preaching for the past couple podcasts and how competition fuels training and what we do as competitors to fuel the training that we need to do to prepare ourselves for these particular types of competition. So I have some great guests here this evening. I have Vito from Margate Fire Rescue. I have Javier from North Lauderdale Fire Rescue, Desi from Miami-Dade. I also have the honor of having the student team from Palm Beach State that actually won the student division and for the first time actually made a finals as a run-through team for our competition at First There, First Care, which I thought went off really, really well. So as we go around, you can see there's a lot of people here. And then Kelly Burns should be coming back and forth. He's going to represent the Miramar team, which was also in the top four at the competition. And Dr. Gandia, which is going to represent the board for the First There, First Care on the medical director standpoint. So let's go around the room here and everyone introduce themselves. And let's go ahead and ask. I'm going to ask a simple question, what we all think. How do you get started in doing EMS competition? So go ahead, Vito.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Vito Labriola, City Margate. I've been there for about 15 years, competing for the same length of time. It's been a great 15 years. I love it. I don't want to stop doing it. I want to be the next Kelly Byrne, you know. But what got me into it was Lauren Brown, who had already established a B team. He invited me on the team, had a little tryout. I made it. And it's been an amazing experience ever since. I did it because I wanted to refine my skills, be a little more poised on scene, the educational level, being able to pass that to my coworkers. And so I was fortunate to already be on a team that was already established, but I have helped numerous departments jumpstart a team. It's kind of my thing. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Awesome. Javi.
What's going on? Javier Rodriguez, City of North Lauderdale. Been there for approximately 11 years, and I got started competing approximately 7 to 8 years ago. I actually was working with Chief McGrath, and I heard all the stories of the great North Lauderdale team. So I kind of wanted to bring that back to the department. It took me a minute to get a good team going. We started off pretty well, then. Being a small department, we kind of lose people here and there, so it's been very difficult to maintain a solid 3. But so far, I guess from this past competition, we're looking pretty good. So, and the reason why I really started competing was to basically just challenge myself. That was like my biggest thing. I wanted to challenge myself, see what I knew, and I actually helped judge at one competition. I loved it. I'm pretty sure it was when it was back at Bass Pro Shop. I saw Miami-Dade come through, and they R-side everybody. I'm like, that's awesome. I want to do that.
Very popular thing to do these days in competition. So, Desi, let me hear what you got.
How you doing, guys? Desi Monavaro. I have like 5 years on with Miami-Dade. Before that, 5 years with Pembroke Pines. Got started competing with Pembroke Pines. Started there as an alternate. Kind of had no idea what it was about. You know, I just heard the stories and stuff. Saw it for myself, and it was the craziest thing. These guys were the sharpest medics anywhere, and I wanted to get on with them. So when I came on with Miami-Dade, Vic reached out to me, joined the team, and still loving it, still having fun. It's great. Keeps you fresh on all this new material. It's good.
Awesome. And we are honored to have the GOAT of EMS competition, Kelly Burns, representing Miramar Fire Rescue. Kelly.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, bud.
Okay. Sorry, I got booted off for a little while and came back.
Understood. Kelly, tell us about how you got started and when you started and what you wanted to do out of competition.
I pretty much started back in the dinosaur ages. Actually, the one that got me most interested in doing this was probably Leo. Because me and Leo grew up in the ambulance company together. We were partners for years. And he went on and he started right away out of the gates. His first year, he was like making finals and doing all this while I was still stuck in the ambulance service. And then when I joined, I got joined up after that. Like after a year watching him, I just wanted to get my feet wet and started. The only problem is for 7 years. I got drunk and had fun and didn't practice until we won something.
Awesome. So again, I'm honored to have these participants on the Palm Beach State team. And if you're not familiar with the Palm Beach State team, Glenn Jordan has some of the finest students that I've ever seen compete. And he prepares them so well with his crew up there with Pete and everyone. We're fortunate to have the team that actually did the run through for the finals. Brooke and Madison are on here. So they're going to give you a little bit of different perspective because they're not in the field. So, Brooke, what did you think of the competition, and how did you get started in EMS competition when you're fresh in school?
So Glenn and Pete back at school back in like October kind of just throw everybody in. It starts with a bunch of students that like are eager to be in it, and then slowly people start getting weeded out, and only the people that want to like do the competition and do the craziness kind of stay. And that like ended up with Madison, Dima, and I. And the competition was awesome. We have been waiting this whole time to finally get out there and like show our skills and what we've been working so hard for. It was kind of crazy, but I mean, it was cool. Like all of us loved it. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. And, you know, when I went to paramedic school, obviously there wasn't really even a book. There was like a manual that we learned. So it's a way back. And we didn't have this opportunity to do any of those particular types of things when it came to EMS competition. But, you know, a lot of the times competitiveness will actually help with education. So Madison, tell us a little about yourself and how you got involved in EMS competition through with Pete and Glenn. He's off again. All right, no problem. All right, so let's go over one of the major questions that we get all the time, okay? When it comes to EMS competition, how does it fuel training as a paramedic? And Doc, we'll start with you on this particular one. You've been in education a very, very long time. You've been doing this EMS competition things for an extremely long time as well. You pretty much started my career in EMS competition, just like Chief McGrath. How do you think, from a medical director standpoint that oversees training, how does that fuel training? How does competition fuel training?
But you know, I
Doc Gandia.
think I hope you can hear me because I'm having terrible reception. I'm at work and I apologize. Plus the weather's awful down in Miami. I think one of the things, and what I'm most proud of, is the fact that, you know, we started and we co-founded this competition, and it really came about all of us getting together to practice for really ClinkCon, which was really the only competition in town. And once we all started practicing together, Tamarack, North Lauderdale, Sunrise, BSO, we decided, you know what, why don't we just put a small competition together and let's go ahead and do it. And now 25 years.
Yeah, we lost Doc. So, I've heard the story a lot of the times, and I was actually there, so I could, you know, once he gets back on, he'll finish it up. But, you know, the First Care actually started as the Broward Invitational, and realistically, we started just practicing as teams, trying to get ready for ClinkCon, like Doc was saying, which was really much the only show in town. And now we have so many competitions that are out there with the Florida Cup and different things like that. But as you can see that, you know, through our competitiveness, we made sure that we understand that we were going to train together, and then it became a competition. So, Doc, you there? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm back. Anyway, so again, it was great. So we did that together, and then we continue to do that. And like I said, we're 25 years down the road. We're now, one of our proudest things is not only all the teams that we have, but really all the student teams that we have nowadays, which really creates sort of the new wave of youngsters coming on to the competition. And one of the things I always recall is when I was working as an emergency room physician in University Hospital, every time the crews came on, we would make it I remember clearly saying, hey, if you would have given that cardizem to that patient, that would have been a 10-point, sort of on your score. So that type of stuff really created a great atmosphere, a great competitive atmosphere, and most importantly, it really has created a wonderful educational atmosphere. And I always say, you know, when people practice, you know, not just are the teams practicing, but the whole squad is practicing, the whole house is practicing. You know, you use other other medics. So you use other students to help you be either whether it be patients or whether you're the scoring or they're getting the equipment together. I mean, you get the whole house, the whole school together, and that really is really most important. That everyone's learning, not just the competitors alone.
Awesome. Vito, you have an educational background. You've taught for quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, competing at a high level like your Margate teams have, also teaching, how do you adapt both of those, and what are some of the benefits of doing that?
So I will tell you that competing has actually, at the time, elevated my level of instruction. It's just, it makes it a lot easier. You know, when I get up there, and we've practiced and studied so many times, page to page in those paramedic books. When it's time to get up there and lecture and explain and dig deep into these books, it just makes it that much easier because of the competitions, and vice versa. Teaching actually brought my talent to the next level, because now here I am studying, doing it practically, introducing it to the students, and while introducing it to the students, learning it myself and bringing it back to the team and coming up with study modules and so on. But when it comes to these competitions, these teams, and the way we train, we can introduce it to our coworkers. If you're an instructor and you're in education, you can introduce that to your students. And I truly believe that I've been around some really, really good instructors, but you can tell the instructors that compete. There's a clear difference. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and it also too, you know, being a competitor and an educator as well, it also makes you comfortable on those hard topics that you have to go ahead and present to your students. So when you're looking at a topic like, you know, acid base or neurological or things like that, we have an idea of what's going on because we learned that in competition. Because, like Doc said, hey, that could be 10 points. You know, which is the golden goose of all, you know, scoring when it comes to a EMS competition. So, Javi, how do you you know, use your EMS competition and educate as well?
I literally make my students create their own scenarios to each other, and that helps them find the signs and symptoms for specific diseases, and really understanding the differences. Like today, we're teaching chest trauma, right? And just that one little line when it comes to pneumothorax and hemothorax, flat neck veins, hemothorax. That one little line changes everything around. So as they create these scenarios, that's what I expect to see in their little narrative of the scenario. So it's kind of helping them understand different diseases and the differences between very similar diseases too.
Awesome. Yeah. So for Kelly and Desi, I'm going to change it up a little bit. And I'm going to ask you even a question that's similar, but a little bit different because it's going to be a different perspective. Okay. Kelly, how, as a company officer, has EMS training or EMS competition made you a better paramedic / company officer?
My guess would probably, I'd have to go back to I rode the box for ages. I'm sure you guys know. And then when you get promoted to that, you get promoted to that engine company spot, which I've been doing for 15 years, and you don't see or do the things that you did so much on rescue. And without it, I'd probably forget a lot of stuff. I ain't going to lie to you. Yeah. This is the only thing that keeps me somewhat dialed in or trying to be on top of things. I can't follow everything. I'm not what I was 10 years ago, but I can hold my own. And I think it makes me more calmer demeanor when the proverbial, you know what happens, you know, people look at you and go, well, this guy's not freaking out. So there's no, you know, you get a nuchal cord or you get twins or whatever. They don't freak out. They go, this guy's not wigging out, so I'm not going to wig out.
Awesome. Desi, so congratulations on becoming a new company officer. And, you know, so you were a firefighter for a while, and I'll guarantee you the company officers went to you for some of these medical things because of your competition background. Tell us a little bit how that worked and how you functioned when you made it from a firefighter to a company officer, and how EMS competition helped you do that.
Definitely in EMS competitions, it's always going to be the craziest scenario. There's going to be 20 patients. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's helped me being an officer because it kind of takes you away. You have to look at the big picture, look at everything going on in the competition. So bringing that into a call, it could definitely get you out of that tunnel vision approach. And, you know, with our job, we're not just like a taxi service. We don't just load people and go, and, you know, we're medical professionals, so like there's so much different things we can do and skill sets that a lot of the guys on the job don't even know that paramedics are capable of it. And competing has definitely opened my eyes, like how sharp some of these people are and all the stuff we could learn. It's been great.
Right. And you don't have to tell me if this is true or not, but how many times has an officer come to you for a dose or come to you and said, how do we treat this patient when you're actually under their command?
Oh, all the time. As I was the ClinCon guy, I've had people call me, on the phone,
right,
on calls and stuff.
That's why I do it.
Exactly. I think that's why we all do it, right? We just want to be that person that they call, and when that real good call comes down, first off, I'm pissed that I wasn't there to do the real stuff. Then I'm like, all right, what did you do? Oh, well, if we would have done this and that, it might have been a little bit better. But all right, so again, I'm going to change it up to a different perspective with Brooke and Madison, who are not working in the field, who are just basically students in paramedic school right now. So do you feel EMS competitions will prepare you to become a better paramedic once you do make it into the field? Because I've seen you compete, and every one of you are going to be hired and going to function at a very high level sometime soon.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I think for sure. And I think it's funny because even though like we are just students, I think there are a lot of similarities with like the guys who are on the job. Like Desi said, being that person that like his officers or his coworkers went to, like we're those students in class that everybody goes to for the answer, like rather than the instructors. So I think it's really cool. It definitely keeps us sharp, and it definitely keeps us like on our toes, and like it way easier because you do like an MCI in competition, and then in class you have one patient and you're like, oh my god, that's it.
Madison, what do you think? You think EMS competition is going to raise your level of knowledge when you become a paramedic in a field?
Yes, I think by far. And also having Glenn Jordan be our mentor is,
another GOAT.
What? Yeah.
Another GOAT.
Everybody wishes they had.
Yeah.
No, I definitely think, and even in class now, we're in different classes, me and the two girls, but I mean, when we do scenarios in class, I feel like we are like at such a higher level, not to like sound, but I just feel like we have learned so much more than our classmates necessarily get to learn just in class. So I'm super grateful for that. And I think it's going to make a huge difference in our career.
Awesome. So, when I look at some of the students that have come through, especially Palm Beach State, quality students, quality competitors, they are definitely going to be, somebody that you have to keep an eye on when it comes to a fire department. The EMS competition just fuels so much competitiveness as well as education. You just want to be better and do better and the best you really can when it comes to that particular thing. So let's go around to Vito. Let me know about a patient that you had in competition and which one was your most favorite one, and give us a brief synopsis of how you treated it and did you do it the right way or the wrong way?
Okay. So, man, it's about 15 years of competing, but there are a few that stand out. I'm going to go to Temple Terrace. We had a food poisoning on a pediatric who, I think it was trichinosis that ended up making the kid hyperkalemic. So here we are. I have a kid, people are zoning in on the vomiting and the diarrhea. But then if you actually do the 12 lead on this child, which most people neglect on a pediatric.
Absolutely. You're right.
You have PT waves, you have textbook hyperkalemia. So now here we are like, oh my God, a pediatric hyperkalemia. What do I even do with this?
Yes.
So that was a very, very in-depth patient that if we didn't train on pediatrics the way we did at Margate, I would have been clueless. I would have treated the vomiting, the dehydration, the diarrhea, whatever I can do and move on. But now, next level. I do my initial approach. I treat the vomiting, diarrhea. Let's go clean this up with a quick 12 lead. I get it. I'm like, whoa, okay. So now we're doing albuterol on this kid. I'm pushing bicarb. I'm pushing calcium. And, now I'm finding the parents, that whole pediatric thing. And to me, that was one of my favorites because they try to put the blindfold on you with the vomiting, but then when you dug a little deeper, you found something else. But man, I'm gonna tell you, I've had so many great patients, but to me, that's one, when you ask me, that's one that stands out the most.
From an educational standpoint, we really don't get enough ped work. And when you do get that PED competition, you want to try to do the right thing and understand, what's going on. And even if you treated it right or wrong, which I know you for a long time, Vito, I'm sure you did a great job on that patient. But, we can change that over to the real life scenario, right? We can go ahead. If we run that call tomorrow, we're going to be looking for those peak T waves. We're going to do that 12 lead on that kid. We're going to do that sodium bicarb. We're going to do those particular things because we learned that through competition, right? Javier, what do you think? What's your favorite patient, and how did you treat it, right or wrong?
Favorite patient I have, I'll go back to Temple Terrace as well. I'm gonna make Vito angry.
Great competition, amazing.
Yes. I really forget what the scenario was. I remember we were in a dark room and we had this one patient where we do a primary assessment on the patient. They come out with no lung sounds on one side, right? If you stay systematic and structured and keep on digging, Vito, right? You find out the patient also had lung cancer and had a lobectomy done, and it wasn't a pneumo or anything like that. It was really just a CHF patient. And
Vito, you're getting a little red. I don't want to call you out or anything, but you're getting a little red.
I'm reliving the moment. I am.
Remember that, huh? Luckily, I just kept on going with my sample, and I found out the whole lung cancer thing. And put the CPAP on and did my thing and called it a day. But just staying systematic and structured, man. Let me tell you that definitely helps. Definitely helps. Know when to be aggressive and when to pump the brakes.
Systematic approach is something that, we practice it all the time. We read about it all the time. But when the what hits the fan, we just go back to, survival mode.
Yeah.
So, if you did your systematic approach on that particular patient, you would have found probably the scar on the side and the lobectomy and all that particular things, and probably not decompress the person that doesn't have a lung there. But, we're in survival mode during these particular competitions. So, Kelly, I'll switch it up with you. Give me your favorite scenario, and me and you better be in it.
It's kind of hard for me to pick one, dude. It's been so many years, that, I really can't. For me and you, it would have to be in 2007 when Bill was trying to crike somebody and he didn't have a crike kit. And he kept screaming at me, and I just reached over and gave him a crike kit, and we hit a home run at the last minute of the scenario and won.
Yep, I remember because we were both ragging on each other. Bill was ragging on us, yelling for a crike kit. He goes, "You guys didn't hear me." I said, "Bill, I had 3 patients in front of me." You had 1 patient. Me and Kelly had 3 each. You know what? If I got to get you a crike kit, I could have got you a crike kit.
And
that's the same question. A favorite scenario, and how'd you guys do?
Favorite scenario, kind of like Kelly. I can't pinpoint one, but we always love the crazy ones that it's like 15 plus patients. We're running around, putting on a show basically. But sometimes we think of these scenarios like, oh, this will never happen in real life. This is never going to be useful in the real life. But obviously you saw the events that happened this week in Miami.
Yeah,
we've trained on that plenty of times in competition. One of the other guys on the other team, Cisco, the other day had a 20 plus shooting the other day. So these things are helpful in real life. The craziest stuff can actually happen. And definitely those huge scenarios. Palm Beach the last Palm Beach, that one was pretty crazy finale. A lot of things going on. Yeah.
Right. So, I remember a scenario, which was one of my favorites, when CleanCon in 97, I believe, when the ambulance turned over and they took away our equipment, and there was equipment everywhere and people were hanging upside down in like a box, and a runaway epi drip and a runaway dopamine drip and everything like that. We actually got beat by Sean Fix's team that year, but we weren't far behind them. But for me, that was a pretty cool scenario. And I remember Bill and Hermes just running around. I had no equipment whatsoever. They kept on throwing me equipment, everything. And Hermes emptied a whole bag at my feet. He goes, "You have equipment now," and then ran away. And I'm like, wow, okay, thanks for doing that for me. But yeah, that was one of my favorite scenarios. And then the University
of Palm Beach.
Yeah, and the University of Miami structural collapse where they took everybody away. And I was in there with a stethoscope and a blood pressure cuff just by myself because it collapsed and took all my partners out. And I came in 4th just by myself with a stethoscope. And that was back in the days when ALS was not as weighted as much as BLS. So, Brooke and Madison, I know Glenn sets up some crazy scenarios for you at the college because he's got a lot of resources there. Tell me how you learn from those particular things and how you can enforce those once you get into the field.
I think it helps a lot with the repetition because, like Dima was saying earlier, like in class, it's always like one patient, one pediatric, stuff like that.
Right.
But like after school, when we're practicing all of us together, we have a lot more people. So just all the repetition, like honing in on those skills, and it's like, and if they don't like what we're doing, they're literally like, pack it up, start over.
Yeah.
Like, don't even continue down that road, start over. If they're not liking what they're seeing, but like mainly the repetition and then just telling us to make a decision is like the biggest thing, especially while we're learning, because everything's so new, all the like medication dosages and all of that, and all the treatments for depending on like what you're getting for the patient. So just like, even if you don't know what you're doing or like what's going on, just to make a decision and like BLS before ALS, like get all those BLS points. And if you don't know, like pass it off to the next person. Like, Dean, it's all yours. I'm going to the next person.
Yeah, exactly. Madison, did you have anything to add to that?
I just think we learned some crazy stuff. I mean, obviously we learned the basics in class, and then Glenn and Pete, they throw some crazy out of the box scenarios that we're going to get in competitions. And I just think one day it's going to, come up and there's going to be a patient in real life that we're going to be like, oh my God, I know this, So although it is like out of the box, I think that it's making us quick on our feet. And like I said, I think one day that, these things are going to come in handy and, we're going to know what to do in a situation that nobody else would have any idea what's going on but a doctor. So
True. Yeah, I mean, you look at the way that we train, and we're training for that worst case scenario, that one epic call that everyone wants to be a part of. But yet, we might run one epic call in our career, but yet we can replicate epic calls multiple times through training. And not just at a competition level, incorporate your company officer, incorporate the people that help you, get to where you're at. And most of those people were competitors. Okay. So Vito, what do you do with your crew after some of these competitions? Something that maybe not many things get by you. But what would you do with a crew that might have had a similar scenario and they missed a couple things? How would you address that?
So at work,
yes.
Correct? So in Margate, we have a very rich history of competition teams. I mean, dating back as far as I think the inception of the First Air, First Care.
Yeah.
So our department, my guys are super supportive. I mean, to the point where they'll go out of service and run extra calls just so the teams can train.
Awesome.
And and after every competition, when we go back, and especially if we win, what did you guys have? What did you guys have? And that's the opportunity for me and the rest of the team to sit down with them and dissect exactly what happened, the way it was presented, the treatments, and how we were able to figure out and make it happen, essentially. Now, do we run them through that actual training? Non-competitors would have a difficult time with that. But to sit there and to tabletop it and to show them the videos, which I always say, your videographer is your most important training tool.
I agree.
100%. And to show them these videos and get that wow factor. And now I've had individuals in my department said, hey, that thing you taught me about in the competition, I ran that call. I knew exactly what to do. And it's like, awesome. My work here is done.
Yep.
Put me in the drop. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to be in the, but that's how we do it. Again, super supportive department, very supportive administration. Everybody always wants to know what we had, the way it was presented, and so on. And when it comes to training, the guys at the department, they'll put us through full-blown scenarios. I have driver engineers to prepare for First Air, First Care, writing scenarios, drivers, which is unheard of, but they want to see the hardware on the shelf. So that's how we do it.
And it's such a good thing when you involve other people and empower other people. So when I first started out at Tamarack, we had other lieutenants writing scenarios for us. A lot of the times they weren't completely medically accurate, but they were scenarios nonetheless. But they took so much pride in writing those scenarios to try to give us a good training. And it almost felt like they were competitors as well. So we incorporated those company people into our training modality. And, obviously looking some of those things up, and they learned just as much as we learned when they gave us a scenario. So Javi, you're in a smaller department in North Lauderdale, and you've been the catalyst of really getting these guys up to par, and obviously coming in second and tying with a team as good as Miramar, with some really good quality people on that. It speaks, volumes of where you've come, where you were, and where you've come from now. And I know that you spearhead a lot of that training. If we had to do that with our crews, what would you do and what would you recommend?
Spearhead the EMS training with the crews?
Correct. Absolutely.
The biggest thing is always the guys really have to want to. As a company officer, I try my best to motivate people to want to train on EMS. And you really want to try to find what people are really good at. That way they feel kind of already involved and like, I have a sense of what's going on already. And that really makes them more involved in the training itself. I know with this past competition, I had a lot of help from different captains, my own lieutenant on my own shift, super smart guy. Always like he's helped me study things that I don't know. He knows it, so that really prepared me. My younger guys, since we are a small department, they're branching off now with their. We're not on the same shift. Being a small department, our team has never really been on the same shift, so they're practicing with their crews and their lieutenants and officers, and it's really evolved more now with our younger lieutenants, because one of them, my IC right now, is a younger lieutenant. Right.
Awesome. Awesome.
So he's really catching up on a lot of things that he thought he really knew, but he really didn't. But now he's learning it.
Awesome. So we're going to go from the small department to one of the biggest departments in the state with Desi and you came from Pembroke Pines. It has a long, really good history of EMS competition. Miami-Dade has a very good EMS competition, with the Greg Logues of the world and the Eddie Traperos of the world. So going from a smaller department to 2,500 people department, how would you incorporate training from your EMS competition and now you're a company officer to your crew?
I usually always, as soon as scenarios are over, in our group chats, I always send the scenarios over, have them as a learning point for the guys. Kind of like what Vito was saying, when back in the house, we don't do it competition style, like we do teaching points, how we deal with it in real life. And most people are pretty receptive to it. It just shows you how much more is out there that we could be doing, or doing better for the patient, or just going further and beyond and stuff. And a lot of guys are really receptive to it, even though it's a fire-driven department, but rescue is really important too. And yeah,
awesome. So Kelly, Brooke, and Madison, I'll ask you a little bit of a different question. So obviously Kelly and myself have a pretty rich history together. We've done a lot of things, traveled all over the world competing. And let me tell you, for a guy in the twilight of his career, no one likes to train longer and harder than Kelly Byrne. Okay? When it comes to training, he was the catalyst to getting me and Bill together, and then he shamed us if we didn't show up for practices. I had to turn down overtime and all these things so we can get, enough training time for Kelly. Meanwhile, he's brilliant, when he competes. So Kelly, what drives you in the twilight of your career, going into, you're in the drop now, or are you going in the drop?
I am in the drop.
In the drop, but you still want to train. And what fires that what's the catalyst to that particular training idea?
Well, I've tried to break away a billion times, and then I just keep getting back into it. The last one was the team had 3 dudes. One dude got married, had a baby, bought a house, all the thing. And then through everybody else, I don't know. I don't want to say not put in the time. Maybe they're scared. I don't know. I don't want to let the other 2 guys down. So they're like, come on, come be with me. Come help us, whatever. We got you, whatever. And then it just snowballs. I mean, just like it did 2 years ago, me, you, Bill, and Josh, it snowballed. We were out. They sucked us back in. There's always something. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do enjoy it. It does keep me up on top of my things. I get to see people I don't see all the time. I mean, it's great if you win something. I mean, but at the end of the day, that you're not going to get anything better training-wise for this other than what we do. I mean, training and prepping and reading. And you're just not going to get that anymore, especially for, a 50-year-old in the drop.
Agreed. So for Brooke and Madison, you have a tremendous amount of school load being in paramedic school and doing everything. And on top of that school load, you accepted the challenge of representing probably one of the best student EMS competition teams I've ever seen. Okay. Tell me how you pretty much adapt your treacherous school load and put in enough time to practice.
I think for at least us two, we got lucky enough that a lot of our team is on C shift, and so our practices happen to fall on C shift.
Awesome.
So it's easier for us, I think, to adapt our schedules to it because we're already at school. But in the other sense, like all three of us have jobs. Like Maddie even sometimes has 2 jobs, and so I think it's hard to like keep track of it all. But Pete and Glenn are always like more than willing to like work with us and our schedules and just still make sure we get the time and get the practice. And they also like give us things that we can do kind of like by ourselves at home in practice, and like study material for us to practice that way. So I think it is definitely hard to balance it all, but I think even the type of people who tend to be on the competition teams, we are kind of the organized or can do it or work well under pressure kind of people. And so it's not as bad as it seems, but it is pretty bad.
Madison, you have something to add? Missed 2 jobs?
Yeah. Yeah, and we practice on C shift and I'm on A shift, but
Yeah.
I camp in the parking lot sometimes, but no, I mean, I entered the program like dedicated. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. And then join, like, you know, kind of being accepted onto the team. We didn't really get to, you know, decide if we made it or not. That kind of made me feel like, you know, I can do this. It gave me like the patience and the courage to take on school and EMS club and work, and then winning the student division. I mean, just made everything worth it, and like all the hours we spent training together, and it was just all worth it. And it's gonna make us better people, better medics. And I love the 2 girls that I'm on the team with, so it's an awesome friendship as well.
Yeah, victory really changes a lot of things and puts it into perspective when you're out there working very, very hard and doing whatever you need to do to try to make ends meet, whether that's 1 job, 2 jobs, you know, working on your classwork and everything like that. So you definitely have to, you know, have a very good life balance when it comes to that. So, all right. So we'll start with Vito. Vito, if you were starting an ALS competition team at a department that does never competed before, how would you do it? How would you train them, and who would you pick?
So let's start with this is the Margate mentality. Family. You need to find a group of individuals that you consider family, because when it comes to the team concept, there's no individuality in a team. You need to have people you truly care for. So for me, for example, I currently have that. I've always had that. With my team is not just my teammates. Those are my little brothers, my nephews, whatever you want to call them. And what that does is it takes what's your motivating force and it takes it to the next level, because you don't want to fail your family. You want to perform in a way that'll make your family happy. You want to get your family to the road of success. And when they feel that way, when they feel that from you, it takes them to the next level. So when you're selecting a group of people, select somebody that you consider family and you have that bond with. You know, somebody who's going to be dedicated, somebody who's willing to go to the battle with you. So secondly, if I was going to start a brand new team, I would reach out to the individuals who are currently competing, who I deem as friendly, and ask them, you know, hey, how do we get this going? Can we see your bags? Can we see your trainings? Can we attend with you? You know, who's the team? Can we get a group practice together? And it also takes support from the administration, because it's logistically challenging. You know, you need bags, you need supplies, you know, you need travel expenses. You need to gather that support. And some administrations are result driven. Well, what do we get from this? So you're going to there's a trade-off here. You give us this and we'll give this to you. We'll come back and we'll train and we'll put together a strategic plan for this team, or we'll represent. And, you know, recruiting, but you got to come up with a game plan too, a training plan, training modules, In Margate, we have very strict training modules. What we do, our plan going 30 days into a competition, this is exactly what we're going to do. And again, that all comes from experienced people. And then you start getting their little tips. No team is going to give all their tricks away.
No,
it's not going to happen.
Never.
I mean, we have a code in Margate. Listen, you can sprinkle some stuff on them. Do not give it all away. But even when you're training with the other teams, we trained other teams and we put forth our best effort, but there's still some things like, hey, stop. We're not going to put too much out there because we still want to win. But, you start out with finding people you consider family. And that's been the Margate philosophy from the beginning. Talking to your administration, seeing what kind of support you can get, taking care of the logistical aspect, no bags, no equipment, no competition, and then just making it happen, signing up for these competitions, going and getting with other teams and training.
Excellent. Me and Bill have been together since the inception, and then we started with Hermes, and then Kelly came on, and I gotta admit that I became better because I was there with Hermes, with Kelly, with Bill, and I was looking at them like, man, I don't know if I'm to that level yet, but the Kelly burn yelling at me, you got to do this, you got to do that, and made me better. And we've had success with that particular type of model. And that's the exact same thing that I want for my company, as a company officer. I know for a fact they can do better. I will stay on them until they get better, and I will give them all the tools for them to get better. And that's exactly what EMS competition does from a training aspect. So, Javi, you have interchanged more people from your team than most. Usually, we stay together a long time, and we, like Kelly and myself, we come in and out of retirement, and we write scenarios, and we compete on scenarios, and we write scenarios again, and all those things. So how do you do it? How do you interchange people within your department? Because you don't have a whole lot of people to choose from.
We don't.
And how would you create that team?
Well, we were somewhat of a revolving door, right, department-wise, but things have been looking better in North Lauderdale. And the biggest thing is consistency. So I like to sell the camaraderie that these competitions bring.
Of course.
Okay. That's why I try to sell to the younger guys who are thinking about it. They're not sure yet. They're a little timid to even go in, right? Because my first competition, it was a hit to my ego. Big time, right?
Yep.
So I try to sell the camaraderie. Like, come out, hang out. You get to meet guys. You're going to learn a bunch of stuff. It's going to be fantastic. And once they get that first little taste of, oh, man, I just competed and I did horrible, I want to get better.
Yep.
That's how I've kind of done it in North Lauderdale. All right, now let's go back and let's continue practicing, continue running reps. And that's basically what we've done now. And that's where my team is at right now, because I have two guys, one guy who's consistently been competing now for 2 years, even before COVID happened. So his improvement in the whole game aspect of the competitions has gone up. And I'm super proud of him. Mike Allen, shout out. And so for North Lauderdale, that's really much how I've done it. Just camaraderie. Come hang out, network, have fun. And then now with this whole successful competition that we've had, these guys are so motivated. We definitely trained like a good month or so, like hit it hard for a good month before this competition. The very next day after this competition, everyone's bags are ready to go. Everyone's. I'm like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, hardware does actually motivate quite a bit of people. Mm-hmm. So let's go from North Lauderdale to Miami-Dade. Desi, I mean, you have 2,500 paramedics to choose from. And, they're not all great, but they're definitely not all bad. And you definitely have some, quality people at a larger department who would like to motivate. How would you start a team if you had to do this all over again?
Definitely like mentorship is like huge in the competition scene. You can't just jump into a competition without knowing any of the history or how it's been done in the past, make up your own rules kind of thing. So it definitely helped. Like when I became to Miami-Dade, I had all my history with Pines and stuff. So that helped me transition to Miami-Dade. As you also like compatibility and like chemistry within a team is very important. It really doesn't work when you try to put like all stars from, select teams together and then, for sure they're going to win. Chemistry is a huge thing.
I agree.
All three guys, just because they're the smartest medics, doesn't mean they're going to win a competition. Trust is huge in a competition scene. If my partner tells me, hey, do X, Y, and Z, don't question it, just do it, stuff like that. And if I'm trying to start it all brand new from scratch, I'm going to go out to other teams. There's never been a competition. We're all in sequestering saying, hey, can we go over this? Or let me see your bag. And everyone's open to it because at the end of the day, we're all here to learn and stuff. We're all competitive too. So we're not going to, they said, we're not going to give all the secrets. But yeah, definitely mentorship, reaching out to others. Everyone's always open to help. So.
That's awesome. I mean, I could remember when Josh Kornblit, who's an amazing competitor, came to me and Bill and said, I want to do the student thing. And they won. And we were just ecstatic because we had like 3 people. But, that chemistry was the most important thing. You don't have to be the smartest person. You don't have to be the brightest person. You got to get 3 people that can put their heads together and make a decision. And that's exactly what EMS competition does. It gives us the confidence to make a decision and understand the knowledge base. And when we mess up, no one dies, right? No one dies in the competition when we mess up. But we will tell you that if we got that exact same patient again, that patient would have never died. So EMS competition really, really does that. So Brooke and Madison, I'm in your class. I'm in your paramedic class, and I'm okay, right? I'm okay. I'm not who I am today, but I'm okay. And I want to compete. What would you do and how would you pick that?
Honestly, I'd probably base it off effort because it is a lot of work. But I mean, they're already like, dude, come to practice, see what it's all about, kind of get your hands on it, run them through a scenario. Here's the equipment. It's very overwhelming at first. Our boxes are huge. But I mean, just them saying they want to be a part of the team, that's like a huge first step of getting a student to like partake in the team with the time commitment outside of school. So come along, please, we're all here to help each other grow, and all of us want to get hired and be a really good paramedic on the street and not be a textbook paramedic. So having that experience, I'm all for it. Dude, let's go. Get yourself in there because you're only going to get better with more practice, more hands-on, more patient assessments. It really helps with our ride times and all of that. So I don't know if you guys want to add on to that, but.
Okay, wonderful. So Kelly, I'm going to switch it up and I'm going to go around. It'll be our final question. We've been going for 47 minutes. I think the conversation was awesome. I think a lot of people, really understood and learned, how EMS competition really fuels education. So I'm going to ask you just a question that we get a lot. How has EMS competition changed your professional career? I think he might be frozen or he's okay. Repeat after me, Kelly. I can't teach an old dog new tricks.
I can hear you now. You were frozen for a second.
Wonderful. Did you hear my question?
No, I did not. Can you repeat, please?
Okay. So you being the GOAT of the group here, how has EMS competition changed your professional career?
To be honest with you, I think it's made me a better medic. When I arrived in Miramar in '96, I barely made it through the EMS portion of the training modality, shall I say. I wasn't a stellar medic. I was a C medic, probably all the way through paramedic school.
I find that hard to believe, but okay.
I wasn't an adult as I am now. And to the point where when I finished and I got on probation, I said, you know what? I want to start doing this ClinCon thing. I think it's going to help me out a lot. I think it'll make me better. I went to one of our chiefs at the time and I said, hey, I want to do this. What do I got to do to do it? And he berated me. He goes, are you effing crazy? You barely made it through probie school. Why the hell would I support you to be? And then from then on, I went back and I was like, damn, this guy ain't going to do nothing for me. And I go, you know what? I'm going to show him. And then eventually over time, and whenever I go to quit, I think about that conversation with that guy where he basically berated me and told me I was garbage, even though I got hired. And I came back, and now every piece of hardware I get, in my mind, I go and I smile.
Good for you, Kelly. I mean, obviously, me and you have went to war together. We've shared the same blood in the mud. Whether it's on this continent or other continents, and I could never see you a C medic, but okay, if you tell me that, I'll believe you.
I was in the
I don't think anyone who knows
medic
you from a
class.
competition standpoint knows you that'd be a C medic. So Vito, same question, because your career has really, taken off because of not only of your drive, but your reputation in EMS competitions.
Let me tell you, I will tell you, shout out to Rob Ramirez from the very beginning telling me that the ALS competitions will pretty much define your career. So getting involved so early, I was 3 months on the job when I had my first competition. 3 months.
Wow.
Started in a January, and my first competition was in a March. So for me, the preparation, the study, the fact that my coworkers saw what I was doing, representing them, putting the work in. I didn't bring hardware home for 2 years, but that didn't matter to me. It was the preparation. It was just getting out there and getting it done and forming a team and helping us, keep Margate on the map. Again, we have a rich tradition of competition, but as far as what it's done for me, man, the education, being able to approach scenes like I would in a competition, just much more at a slower pace because there's no time limit. Being more poised on scene, more confident, being able to justify my decision making with my coworkers who look at me like I'm crazy sometimes, like, why are you doing that? And this is why I'm doing this. Let me give you a reason so we're all comfortable here. Just digging deep, my assessment, my communications with nurses, doctors, any hospital staff, just promotional exams. When it came for my lieutenant promotional exam, the practical, I think I was the only ALS competitor who took it. And when it came to the practical, I got 100 because for me, it was a single patient scenario and I absolutely destroyed it. So other promotional exams, just being in that practical setting when they're testing you and challenging you, it's a walk in the park because of everything I've been through in the last 15 years with these competitions. So, and it also helps when you win a little bit. You get labeled
for sure
as a winner. The department loves it. The administration loves it. The commissioners love it. We're presenting the first Air Force Care on July 7th. And it just really, let me tell you, the best thing I could have done for my career was compete.
That's amazing. I started out and we didn't have any idea about competing. Chief Terry said, "Oh, well, Hialeah has done this, and I was the EMS chief there, and it's really good. It's good for education." And I came from a department that used to be like pro EMS, and now it's a little bit more pro fire because of the ISO ratings and things like that. Which don't get me started with that. But, I said to myself, all right, I really want to try to do this, and I really want to try to train myself to become better. And I think EMS competitions made us better. Every promotionary exam, whether we've taken it, we've passed it, we've failed it, it's basically a ClinCon scenario. Mm-hmm. And with you, getting your particular promotion with a one patient, you were probably done in about 3 minutes. You're waiting for the other patient to come in, and they're probably saying, no, you got every point. So here's your badge.
Okay. Pretty much.
So Desi, 5 years at a large department. You're now a company officer, which is a great accomplishment. You go against hundreds of people when you do a promotionary exam. How did EMS competition shape your career?
It definitely makes you improve my critical thinking, but with speed. You have to be quick on your feet, in these competitions. And just reading the whole scene and just having like a big picture idea, I guess that helps me out a lot. It's definitely helped me analyze things more when it comes to taking tests and stuff like that, reading the full thing, trying to find the answer, stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I can honestly look back at my career too when I look at these competitions, and I remember all the studying. I remember Kelly Burns calling me. He's on the treadmill and he's reading the book at the same time. And he's saying, "Hey, did you see this in this paramedic book?" And whatever. And I'm like, "No, Kelly, I didn't." I go, "And what are you doing, on a treadmill in the first place?" So, but he made me look it up, and I remember those things. And I got you. So, Javi, again, the same question. You've had a lot of success, in promotions. You've been promoted, a couple times now within your department. How did your EMS competition career help you get to that level?
I think that when you're first starting out with competitions, and even now to this day, you always get that little bit of anxiety, and controlling that anxiety and nerves especially in promotional processes, the competition scene has kind of helped me with that. So I'm able to kind of like know how to make myself calm down and relax, really think through what they're asking me so I can give them a well thought out answer. That's the biggest thing I feel like competition really helped me out with my promotional processes. On top of knowing a little bit more because we're in the books more, especially like once you do that, the rescue lieutenant roles and things like that, you're in the books with these competitions. So you have that little bit of edge on guys who are not competing.
Yeah, amazing. I can't agree with you more. It gives a sense of comfortability when you do these promotionary exams because you've already been put through the ringer. You've been put through a timed event. You've been put through an event where you have to score points. And basically a promotionary exam when it comes to an assessment center is almost identical to any, ClinCon or EMS competition type scenario that we've ever done. So I'll go ahead and change it up a little bit in the closing. I'll talk with, Brooke and Madison. So how do you, since you're not hired and you're not eligible for promotion just yet, but you will be, how do you think the EMS competition is going to affect your ability to get hired?
Okay. Honestly, I feel like it'll help us not even just being on the resume. It helps us kind of what Javier was saying about controlling your nerves. Like all of us are like really nervous test takers. I know I am. Like I'm a pacer, like back and forth before I go in the room to do like scenarios and stuff like that. But just knowing how to control your nerves and kind of control the room and have everything under control and stay systematic with the approach. Like we just tested on PALS this past week. And like we're used to a lot of patients and just having the one to kind of just slow down, stay systematic with the approach of the patient assessment and like hit every mark, like with the medications and the points and kind of just go through it and like knowing what the score sheets look like, just like know what they're looking for and like a hiring process and like just being ourselves and kind of like putting that up to the table. And like, I don't know.
Awesome. Madison, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, so I actually kind of on like a different spectrum. I actually want to go to PA school, so I actually like don't really. I still think the EMS like club and the competition has helped me a lot in that aspect because like, especially with Glenn and Pete, you learn like these like diseases and things that like no one has ever heard of that I could swear are not even real things. And so I think it really helps you to like get into the detail and really like, I think it will help me like in grad school, just like being able to recognize and even just like learn and better study for those kinds of things. So I think it's like, I think ALS competitions are applicable to so much more than just like being a firefighter or being a paramedic.
Awesome. Madison, you have anything to add to that?
I kind of just think it'll make us stand out in general. Kind of in the interview process, what is different about you. And I think that, being on the competition team, showing that we are dedicated to this field, winning a competition, definitely. We met so many people while we were there. And then like they said, obviously we will be on top of it when we're running through any kind of scenarios or any practical tests. But I definitely just think like showing these people that we have, the dedication and what it takes to be a part of a team, not only, but also to win these competitions that, everybody knows about and knows are hard. And so, yeah, I just think it'll make us stand out a little bit when it comes to the process.
I agree. I mean, like we tell the story all the time and I can't remember what team it was or what chief it was off the top of my head, but the chief came up to myself and Chief McGrath and said, I'm going to hire that whole team right there. Yeah, and I was like, wow, okay, that's fantastic. And it wasn't, and they did. So, in closing for me, I just like to thank everybody who's on this podcast. It made it an amazing podcast for whether you're a competitor, whether you're an educator, or whether you're just trying to, get into EMS competition. I mean, you look around this particular podcast, you have proven winners. You have a lot of EMS competition, gold here. You have an excellent, one of the best student teams I've ever seen, competing. And, this is a very, very hot topic right now because EMS competition is, really starting to take off whether it's just Florida, which we've been doing it for quite a while, or, other type competitions. But give me one second. I got to pop up. There we go. And I'd just like to thank everyone that's on here. So we'll go around closing statements. We've been on an hour. Hope everyone, enjoyed the podcast from Braxton College. Thank you for, I'm honored to host this, and I'm honored to be on this podcast with, amazing competitors. And this is your top 4 teams that are represented here in the first, in-person EMS competition in the state that had for quite a while. So the floor is yours. Closing comments. We'll start with Vito.
No, it's just a pleasure being here. Listen, what drives me, other than the love for my teammates, is everybody always nipping at my butt. Got KB here, always coming at me, always grilling me and sequestering. Everybody's always, hammering me. Hey, it's time to leave. It's time to go. And that's, for me, that's what keeps driving me. There it is. I knew it. There it is. You see? Right there. That's my motivating force. But listen, I'm going to do this as long as I can. I'm going to do this as long as my teammates let me. I love it. Like Javi said, the camaraderie, the training. I'm on a suppression unit. This helps keep me sharp. I'm going to keep bringing hardware back to Margate for as long as I possibly can with my team. And again, it's an honor being here, and I'm looking forward to doing many more of these. And I'm looking forward to the remainder of the season.
Jesse.
Yeah, it's great to be back. This is our first competition back in person. We're lucky we're at a time right now. Like, all the teams are really, really good. So the competition is going to be, really hard. I'm really excited for Palm Beach coming up, and just continuing this. I don't see myself ever stopping. I don't know. I can't.
Just a quick disclaimer before I went to Javi. I bet against him, and it was the wrong move. So I put my guys at Tamarack against them, which they didn't practice together. And it was the wrong move. I lost $25 to Chief McGrath on that. And you know what, Javi? Your team looked amazing. So closing statements from you in North Lauderdale.
Thank you very much. I'm just humbled to really even be on here, so I really appreciate you guys. And shout out to your Tamarack team, though, because we did train with them and guys at North Lauderdale and don't get offended, Palm Beach State, but we did a couple practice sessions with EI. So the biggest thing is the camaraderie, man. Like it's really fantastic because you can only practice so much with your own guys one-on-ones. And when you start getting teams together to get those big scenarios, and Miramar too. I can't forget about Miramar. Love those guys. So when you get all these guys together, that's when the real learning takes place.
So Kelly, we'll, from a competitor standpoint and from a fire department standpoint, we'll end with you, but then we'll end the podcast with the student team, which I'll be interesting to hear, what they have to say about a lot of the things. But let's be honest, you're the GOAT of EMS competitions. No one's got more hardware than you. No one's got more ClinCons than you. You've been a member of a lot of really, really good teams, and you've been a member of some okay teams where you didn't do as well as you thought. So what's a closing statement to a person who's inspiring to be the next GOAT of EMS competitions?
I wouldn't say GOAT, but I'd say I can hold my own. As far as these young ladies here, I commend them for what they're doing. I think that's the best thing they can do going forward. They'll smoke any promotional test they take, any hiring test they get. They're going to feel cool, confident. As far as the other guys on here, everybody's been around the block. Everybody's good. It's just a battle amongst all of us to try and get to the top. Just like Vito said, I'm going to chase it. He's always one of the thorns. Him and Lozano are another thorn sometimes in my side. Sometimes I'm a thorn in their side, but that doesn't mean I don't love them. But collectively, it's made us all better. And I think that's the one thing that you can take from this, and these ladies can take from it as well. Whether it's now or 25 years from now, even my 2 guys, like I said, I got to give a shout out to Tim, which I never thought I would do. In the last competition, he was on point when I saw the score sheet. I was very proud of the work he did, and for the time that we put in for my first time ever competing with Frank, I'm not disappointed. We were rusty. We left some stuff on the table. We're going to fix it, and we're going to be back. I can assure you that.
Oh, boy. That sounds like a threat. That sounds like a threat. Yeah, I mean, listen, we all want to beat each other, right? Every one of us on this competition committee or any competition team, we want to make sure we beat the Vitos, we beat the Desis, we beat the Javiers, and more importantly, everybody wants to beat Kelly Byrne. Because you have more hardware than most anybody in EMS competition history, and you should be proud of that. And because you are an amazing competitor and just actually a really good guy too. On top of that, being your friend has been an honor. Working with you on EMS competitions, you've driven me to become a better competitor because of your drive to train and do those things. And I wouldn't be the competition person that I am today if it wasn't, competing with you. So you're amazing. So we'll close this out with, I think, the most honorable people that's on here. We can say that, hey, we represent our fire department, and it's not difficult for us to represent our fire department, but you have a student team that not only represents themselves really well, but represents a school, which can be difficult at times, right? So we look at a 2,500 department. We look at, a 100-person department. Yet these schools have even more than that. So we'll close it with the student team. How do you think, what's your closing statements? And if I was a student, how would I get involved?
First of all, I just want to say thanks for having us on here. It's been an honor and pleasure. Glenn and Pete told us about Vito and and Kelly and everybody going in. So it was really cool getting to watch them in the final and being like, oh my God, that's them. They told us that they're amazing, and just getting to listen and kind of learn how they approach the different scenarios and kind of taking that back to school. Cause you learn based off other people, everybody kind of hones in on how they like to do it. Everybody has their way of doing things. So kind of looking at all of you guys going to compete, it's ooh, that was really good. I really love that. And kind of how can I take that back to school and kind of pass it down to the other teams? Because we're only here on the student team every year because of the we graduate and move on to get hired. So there's always new students coming in. But telling the new students, I know all three of us plan on coming back and helping and passing on the legacy to do the ALS competition, because it does make us better paramedics. And that's the main goal, really.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, for you, that's in the infant stages of your career to understand legacy and to understand to pass on the knowledge that you have created. I mean, it just makes our business going to be that much better when the Kelly Burns and the Tony Chins of the world, retire, and then the Brooks and the Madisons take over where we're at. So it's amazing. Again, so I can't thank anyone enough for being on here. I know it took some time out of your day and your family, and I know I came home from work and jumped on here, but I thought the podcast was really, really amazing. We have some amazing people on here, the best of the best so far in the state of Florida from an EMS competition standpoint. And I'd like to thank everyone for participating, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. To get all of us in the same place at one time, it's either going to be a final sequester, right? Or it's going to be something like this where we could all get together and just given our ideas of how EMS competition really fuels education. And education's the key to all of this. We do all of this stuff to educate ourselves and hopefully educate new minds. So thank everyone again, and everybody have a wonderful evening.